Welcome to Connect Church Online. We're glad to have you with us. My name is Dwayne Hawksworth, and I'm the lead pastor here at Connect Church. We're starting a brand new series today we're calling Fear. So many people live their lives paralyzed by fear, and you don't have to watch a scary movie to experience fear. Four of the most common fears people suffer from are fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of intimacy, and fear of losing control. For the next 4 weeks, we're going to discuss these topics and discover that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power. And during this series, we'll experience the power of God to overcome these fears. Before we get started today, first let me tell you how you can connect with us and keep up with the events here at Connect Church in Waco. I'd also like to let you know how you can give and support what we're doing if you'd like. Take your cell phone and text the words Connect Church to 94,000. That's the words Connect Church to 94,000. This will provide you with a link to both connect with us and to give if you'd like. You can also go to our website, connectwaco.com/give. To connect with us by mail, our mailing address is Connect Church, P.O. Box 4317, Waco, Texas 76715. There'll be a screen at the end of our time together with this information too. Thank you for watching today, for connecting with us, and for supporting what we're doing here at Connect Church in Waco. Before I bring today's message, our band has a song for you. Thank you again for joining us. I hope you enjoy this week's online celebration.
Sing with me. Your word is a lamp unto my feet. Your word is the only word for me. It's a narrow road that leads to life, and I want to be on it. It's a narrow road and the reach to life, and I want to be on it. Take you at your word. If you said it, I believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. You spoke, and the chaos fell in line. Oh, I know, 'cause I've seen it in my life. And it's a narrow road that leads to life, and I want to be on it. It's a narrow road, and the tide is high, but you're part of the water. I'll take you at your word. If you said it, I believe it. I've seen how good it works. If you started, you'll complete it. I'll take you at your word. If you started, I believe it. I've seen how good it works.
We're beginning a brand new series this week, so you're coming in at the beginning of the movie, and I don't think you're going to want to miss a single week. We're talking about something that's very real for most, if not all of us, and that's fear. Not just fear in general, but some specific fears like fear of rejection, failure, intimacy, and losing control. And as we go through this series, we can transform from experiencing fear to discovering the power of God in our lives. Now, as we get started, let me just offer a little confession here, because today's topic especially gets really close to me. I struggled for years with the fear of rejection. So please know that if this is where you are, you're in the right place today, and you can rest assured that I'm not talking to you, I'm talking with you. Much of my younger life was very much defined by wanting people to like me and craving their approval. I thought that if I performed, then people would like me, and that is approval addiction. I set myself up for a lot of stress because of this, and listen carefully to this, especially if you struggle with the fear of rejection too. Because no matter how hard you try to please everyone, that's just not going to happen. You usually end up pleasing no one, including yourself. Even as a young minister, after I would speak, the first thing I'd want to know is, how did I do? Did you like it? Was it good? Did I do a good job? I was living addicted to the approval of other people, and this is very, very dangerous. And the truth is, that's where many of you are living today. Maybe it was from a long time ago, or maybe it was just recently, but you still hear the words echoing in your mind. We don't need your services anymore. You just won't work in our organization. I don't want you, or I don't need you. Get out of my life. You have to change. You're not good enough the way you are. I'm leaving you. Would you just leave me alone? I wish I'd never had you. I don't love you. Why can't you be more like? Today, let's take a look at what the Bible has to say about fear, but especially the fear of rejection. Because if you struggle with this fear, it's not only painful, it's holding you back from being the person God created you to be. The fear of rejection isn't something new or just a modern fear. The Apostle Paul had a young man he mentored and treated like a son named Timothy. We have 2 letters in the New Testament that Paul wrote to Timothy, and these 2 letters not only give us an insight into their relationship, but also into some of the personal struggles that Timothy dealt with. One of these was the fear of rejection. In the second letter Paul wrote to Timothy, we know today as 2 Timothy, Paul addresses this fear in the 1st chapter and the 7th verse. For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. God has not given us a spirit of fear, and yet so many people live paralyzed by fear, especially the fear of being rejected. This fear does not come from God. Paul's saying that our fear of rejection is the exact opposite of what God has actually given to us and the way He created us to live. The fear of rejection even goes back to the days of King Solomon. In the Old Testament book of Proverbs, a powerful book of practical wisdom for living, we're told in chapter 29 and verse 25, fearing people is a dangerous trap, but trusting the Lord means safety. Why is the fear of rejection such a dangerous trap? Because we live our lives focused on what people think rather than what God thinks. Everyone has a different opinion of what you should do, and if you try to please them, they will send you in every direction but the direction you should go. You can only go in one direction, and the only direction that is best is the direction the Lord wants you to go. If we live trying to please the people around us, we will live confused, frustrated, and afraid. Let's look at 2 rejection traps, 2 ways that we're ensnared as we are paralyzed by the fear of rejection. The first one is we can easily become overly starved for acceptance. The sad truth is, when we're overly starved for acceptance, the very thing we desire most is the first thing that we lose. A great example of this is King Saul. We read about him in the Old Testament, and he was someone who had it all. He was tall, strong, good-looking, the perfect politician. He was on track to be a great king and a great man, but his greatest weakness was the fear of rejection. Our fear never keeps us from what we fear. It often brings it to pass. Let me say that again. Our fear never keeps us from what we fear. It often brings it to pass. King Saul always wondered, what are the people going to think? Are they going to like me? At one point, because of the fear of what people thought, he disobeyed God's command, and the prophet Samuel confronted him. Listen to what King Saul said in Samuel 15:24. He repented and confessed, I've sinned, I violated the Lord's command. Now, why did he do this? Here's what he said. I was afraid of the people, so I, what? He said, so I gave in to them. How often do you do that? How often are you afraid of what people think, so rather than doing the right thing, you do what you think they would want you to do? When we live in the fear of rejection and seek the approval of the people around us, we will always end up giving away the things that matter most to us and be left with nothing. The second rejection trap is just the opposite. It causes us to become overly cautious and as a result miss God's best for us. We say to ourselves, I've been hurt before, and I'm not going to let anyone hurt me again. I'm not going to trust. I'll keep you at arm's distance because I'm not going to let you do to me what someone else did to me. This is what the Bible says in the book of Proverbs, chapter 28, verse 14, about that kind of person. Happy is the one who always fears the Lord, but the person who hardens his heart to God falls into misfortune. The fear of the Lord doesn't mean we're afraid of him, but rather that we reverence and respect him. And when we grow soft towards the opinion of others, we naturally grow hard toward God and what he desires. So how do we know when we have a hardened heart? Someone who doesn't let others in. Now, ladies, maybe you say you can't trust men as far as you can throw them. They're all just a bunch of jerks, losers. They're all users. Well, guys can do the same thing. Women are just a bunch of black widows, get close to you, sting you, and mess you up. For some, it starts when you have the sneaking suspicion that your parents favor another sibling over you, and I don't want to get hurt. For others, it's on the athletic field when you don't get picked and you're the last one that doesn't want to get hurt. For some, it's when you don't fit into a certain crowd, or when someone tells you they're going to be there forever, and then they crush your heart, and you become overly cautious. Still for others, and this is one of the things that must be so sad to God, is when followers of Jesus have people you know and love, family members, maybe your parents, maybe your children, maybe your brothers and sisters, maybe people that you work with, people that you've grown up with who don't have a relationship with Jesus, and you're afraid to tell them about Jesus. Why? Because you're afraid that they would reject you. This even happened in Jesus' day by some who saw him and heard him in person, face to face. One of Jesus' followers named John wrote about this in the New Testament letter of John, chapter 12 and verse 42. Many people did believe in him, however, including some of the Jewish leaders, but they wouldn't admit it for fear that the Pharisees would expel them from the synagogue, for they loved human praise more than the praise of God. They would not admit their faith in Jesus. Why? For fear that they'd be put out of the synagogue. What mattered to them? Because they loved praise from who? From men, from people, more than they did praise from God. Fear of man, it is a snare. It is a trap. We become overly cautious or become overly starved. How do we overcome this trap? The Bible teaches us two principles that we will live empowered by the Spirit of God in our lives. The first one is, with the help of the Spirit of God, we ask Jesus to teach us to say yes to pleasing God. More than anything else, that our heart will desire to say yes to pleasing God. The second thing, we say no to pleasing people. We say no to pleasing people. We're always to show love and to show the grace of God in relationships, but what we're not driven by becoming people pleasers. I love the way this question is asked in Isaiah 51. Isaiah asked the question. He said, "Who are you that you fear mortal men? Who are you that you fear the opinions of people, the sons of men, who are but grass? Why do you fear people," he says, "that you forget the Lord your God, your maker?" Who are you that you fear people? Do you know that that's what's crazy? It's often how I get caught up in my own approval addiction, and I'm driven by what people think so much that I forget God. Every single day, we will have an opportunity to cave in and live for the approval of people, or we'll have the opportunity to surrender our heart at that moment to God and say, "I live for you and you alone." What will it be? Fear of men, which is a trap, a snare. The one who trusts in the Lord, that one is kept safe. Our goal before God is to live for an audience of one, not for the audience of people. That's why Jesus said this in John chapter 5 and verse 30, "By myself I can do nothing." He said, "I judge only as I hear, and my judgment is just, for I seek not to please myself, but who? Who do I seek to please? The one who sent me." I seek to live for an audience of one. Fear of people, it's a trap, it's a snare, but he who trusts in the Lord is found secure and is kept safe. No matter what you think about me, God says I'm acceptable through Jesus Christ. No matter what you think about me, God says he loves me just as I am, and I am perfect in his sight. I love the words of Lloyd Ogilvie, who said, "Secure in God's love, I will not surrender my self-worth to the opinions and judgments of others. When I'm rejected, I will not retaliate. When I'm hurt, I will allow God's love to heal me, and knowing the pain of rejection, I will seek to love those who suffer from its anguish." Thank you for watching today. I pray we all begin living free from the fear of rejection.